Tonight, a new virus alarm in Sydney's west. A COVID case forces Mount Druitt Hospital's emergency department to shut down, sending staff into isolation, and worryingly, the source is still a mystery. An arrest over the murder of Peter McCarthy, bashed, robbed and left for dead in his Sydney home. Our exclusive interview with his neighbour, who is now said to be charged over his death. India demands an iron fist response to allegations of racist taunts at the SCG, players saying they have copped years of abuse from Aussie fans. A battle in the dying days of the Trump regime. Will he become the first president to be impeached twice? Sydney's north meets the south. The first tracks laid for the metro extension connecting Chatswood to the city and all the way to Bankstown. And border closures skewered, the Prime Minister left looking a little sheepish. All the ingredients for a classic commercial for Aussie lamb.
This is 10 News First, Sydney, with Hugh Riminton.
Good evening. A Western Sydney hospital has had to divert ambulances and transfer patients after a man with COVID-19 walked into the emergency room. Staff and patients at Mount Druitt Hospital are now being tested. Worryingly, the source of that infection is tonight a mystery, and it is just one of 5 cases we learnt about today. Alerts have now been issued for more venues across Sydney, including a daycare centre.
At Mount Druitt Hospital overnight, usual procedures were turned on their head, with patients wheeled out of emergency, into ambulances and driven away. The reason? A man in his 40s who turned up seeking treatment but then tested positive for COVID-19.
As a precaution, we are ensuring that all staff or patients that may have had inadvertent contact are assessed.
After a deep clean this morning, the ED is now back open.
I will have to follow up whether he was fully wearing a mask at all times.
And his wife has tested positive too, but it's unclear where they were infected.
So there's no direct link yet.
And Sydney's Barella cluster has grown again too. Yesterday, a couple in their 30s who'd been at a household gathering, which a confirmed case forgot to mention to contact tracers. Now they've spread it to another family, 2 adults and a child, while mingling at a second household gathering 2 days later.
And we are confident that we've worked through this chain of transmission.
But it has sparked new alerts for venues and transport routes around Hurlston Park, where today the Wonder Child Daycare Centre had to close, with staff, children and some parents there last week asked to test, isolate and await instructions.
They're on lockdown temporarily at the moment. They are following all instructions from the New South Wales Department of Health.
And there was criticism today for this man, caught on camera at Kellyville Ridge McDonald's, going berserk when asked to sign in with a QR code.
It's absolutely appalling.
The Health Minister declaring the customer
needs to have the full force of the law thrown at them. I'm confident the police will do that.
Still no word on the fate of this hotel quarantine security guard who was pictured without a mask over the weekend.
Those protocols have been upgraded overnight.
There will be mask wearing by all security guards.
With Australia's vaccine rollout to begin next month, there is new debate over who should get access to the jab first. Doctors, nurses and those in aged care will be given priority. But retail workers say, what about them?
Lockdowns and hotspot areas, the supermarkets always continue to operate. Retail and retail warehouse workers are essential.
As the Premier in the West takes a swipe at the virus response in the East.
To look outside of New South Wales at what other states and territories are doing in order to crush and kill the virus.
There is no way of eliminating this virus so long as it exists around the world.
Daniel Sutton for 10 News First.
Well, a snap 3-day shutdown in Brisbane will shortly end after the state recorded a 4th straight day with no new community COVID cases. John Paul Gonzo is live for us in Brisbane tonight. John Paul, you're not out of the woods just yet.
Not by a long shot, Hugh. The real test is over the next 10 days. That's how long our new restrictions will remain in place for. The biggest of them is that masks still need to be worn in the Greater Brisbane area in indoor spaces if you can't socially distance. They don't need to be worn outdoors if you are exercising or if you are in your own vehicle. Health authorities say they have traced the majority of close and casual contacts of that hotel cleaner infected with the UK strain. However, there's fears there could be some virus still out there in the community. No new locally acquired cases today, just 4 in hotel quarantine. The Premier says no cause for concern there. Anastasia Palaszczuk forced to defend the lockdown that saw around 2.5 million Queenslanders ordered to stay home.
Definitely not an overreaction. It was absolutely supported by AHPPC. It was supported by National Cabinet. And as you've seen, it has been supported by people in Greater Brisbane. They have absolutely done everything that we have asked them, and they have seen the results today.
Good news for cricket fans today too, with confirmation the 4th and final test can go ahead at the Gabba. It will be played in front of a 50% crowd, around 18,000 spectators in the stands. Hugh fans will have to wear a mask as they enter and exit the stadium, but not at their seats.
OK, John Paul, thank you. There's been a stunning breakthrough in the murder investigation of Peter McCarthy, an elderly man whose body was discovered in his South Coogee home. Police have arrested a woman who spoke to our reporter, Steve Hart, at the scene of the crime last month. He has this report.
This is 46-year-old Narelle Smith, just 2 days before Christmas, speaking with 10 News First, 3 days after the brutal bashing murder of her neighbour, 77-year-old Peter McCarthy.
He's just a lovely guy that lives next door, helps people, ladies' man.
Is that right?
Bit of a ladies' man, but besides that, he's okay.
Police last month released this security vision of Peter's last known movements at Club York in the city. Narelle told 10 News First she was with Peter 24 hours after that in his unit, seeking legal advice from the retired solicitor.
When did you last see Peter?
Last Thursday. Yeah, I was for my birthday. Yeah, at his place. I had a bit of a shindig. Dinner, helping me out with my case the next day.
Smith is from Victoria originally. She says Peter was one of her best friends.
I don't really have any family here or anything, so just chatterboxing, and he filled me in on what's going on with his love life and everything, because I'm not one of his love lives.
But at around 1 this afternoon, officers moved in arresting Narelle, saying robbery was part of her alleged motive and that she acted alone. The 46-year-old has denied any involvement.
There's very significant forensic and physical evidence to make this a strong and compelling case.
Detectives still want to speak to these 2 people they say may have some important information about the case.
We're making further inquiries in relation to people that may have assisted or maybe have some information.
For Peter's family, naturally, the loss of their father and loving grandfather just before Christmas was devastating. Late this afternoon, police gave them the good news.
Any arrest is welcome, but it's obviously mixed emotions for them. They're still getting over the grief of losing Peter.
Steve Hart for 10 News First.
A day at the beach has erupted in violence at Fairlight, leaving a young man severely injured. The 26-year-old was with friends when they got into an argument with 4 other men. Police say he was punched from behind, causing him to fall and hit his head near the rock pools. The search is still on for those involved. Indian cricket players and fans are demanding Cricket Australia use an iron fist to stamp out racism after fast bowler Mohammad Siraj complained of racial abuse during play yesterday. Police and cricket authorities are investigating, but players say this is not an isolated incident.
Play halted and police called in.
But it's clearly cut to the nerve of this Indian team, and rightfully so.
An official complaint has been lodged by the Indian team after fast bowler Mohammad Siraj says he was the target of racial abuse from the stands, leading to 9 spectators being removed from the ground.
This is my 4th tour to Australia, and Sydney, especially here, has been. We've had a few experiences even in the past. This must be definitely dealt with iron fist.
The players are expected to be interviewed after the end of today's play.
The investigations are going on at the moment. I know New South Wales police have spoken to every single person in that bay, so we'll await the outcome of those investigations.
But there are differing accounts as to what was said and by whom. Indian media are now reporting a day earlier, on the Saturday, Siraj was called a brown dog and told to go home.
I've hated it
as a player. I hate it as a coach. We've seen it in different parts of the world, and it's really sad to see it happen in Australia.
I don't believe we have an inherent problem with racism. I don't. I do believe that it rears its ugly head from time to time, and we need to always be vigilant.
Former leg spinner Kerry O'Keefe says sledging in any form needs to end.
95% of sledging is unfunny. A huge percentage of it is personal abuse dressed up.
Today, fans backed him.
It's just plain rudeness. It's just wrong.
We take that very seriously. We do not tolerate any bad behaviour, any abuse to any players or anyone.
But it's not the only incident that's alleged to have occurred. Other Indian players say they were also subjected to racial slurs from the Barongal stand on Friday and Saturday. And one Indian fan has told 10 News First that she was targeted during yesterday's play.
And he was in his 60s, I would guess. He says, these trashy Indians.
She says she won't be deterred from going, but hopes attitudes can change.
There's only so much you can do. You can't change people, but the realisation does need to come from within.
Ursula Hager for 10 News First.
New impeachment proceedings against US President Donald Trump are set to begin within hours. Democrats and some Republicans have accused him of inciting last week's fatal violence on the Capitol building. This morning, he finally authorised the flag above the White House to be lowered to honour the policeman who lost his life defending members of Congress.
Police form a guard of honour at the base of the US Capitol to recognise the sacrifice of Officer Brian Sicknick, the human cost of Wednesday's attack laid bare. As the hearse was passing the site where he died, new video began circulating showing a policeman being dragged down the western stairs and then speared with a flagpole. The injured officer is yet to be identified. News also broke that another policeman under siege that day, Howard Liebengood, took his own life overnight. In one event, more police officers have died or been injured than in all of the anti-police protests over the past year. 4 days on, President Trump finally agreed to fly the flag above the White House at half-staff. Speaker Nancy Pelosi gave CBS's 60 Minutes a first-hand account.
This door, they broke down. You can see. Oh my goodness. They broke that down.
Revealing just how close protesters came.
The staff went under the table, barricaded the door, turned out the lights, and were silent in the dark. Under the table for 2.5 hours.
New stories of heroism are also emerging. Officer Eugene Goodman insulted protesters to lure them away from the Senate chamber on the other side of the staircase where lawmakers were evacuating. And the rioter who brought plastic handcuffs to possibly take hostages has been arrested after he was identified in a photo next to his mother outside. Tomorrow, Democrats will begin impeachment proceedings against President Trump for the second time. Republicans are warning it'll only fuel divisions, but the Democrats' response is there can't be unity without accountability.
We came close to half of the House nearly dying on Wednesday. And if a foreign head of state, if another head of state came in and ordered an attack on the United States Congress, would we say that that should not be prosecuted?
Former Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger compared the attack to the rise of Nazi Germany.
My father and our neighbors were misled also with lies, and I know where such lies lead. President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever.
What's going on behind the white walls of the president's house is now anyone's guess after Trump was banned from social media. But the speculation is he's considering pardoning all those involved. Eamon Ashton-Atkinson for 10 News First, Washington.
Well, back home, thankfully, we've been given a rare glimpse inside the mammoth construction project going on underneath southwestern Sydney as the first tracks for the new metro train line are installed. And while the project might be over budget, the government says it is also ahead of schedule.
More than 4,000 tonnes of steel inside twin 15-kilometre underground tunnels. The train line connecting the city to the southwest on track for 2024.
Whilst our state is dealing with the challenges of the COVID pandemic, that it's not stopping our infrastructure pipeline. In fact, pleasingly, this project is slightly ahead of schedule.
The first track signalling a light at the end of the tunnel for the latest phase of the government's all-important Sydney Metro project.
It is going to carry millions of Sydney-siders from the northwest to the southwest into the city, under the harbour, under the city.
Promising a train every 2 minutes between Chatswood and the city through to Bankstown. With newly built stations at Crow's Nest, Victoria Cross, Barangaroo, Martin Place, Pitt Street and Waterloo, along with new underground platforms at Central Station. But it hasn't come cheap. The government today sidestepping questions about the final price tag.
We will come back to the community once we've got all of the final contracting complete and announce that price tag.
Systems Connect contractors will spend the next 2 years converting the excavated tunnels into a working railway. Right now, around 120 trains travel into the CBD during the morning peak hour. When the project is complete, that number will jump to around 200 trains, carrying commuters into the city every morning. Another big step towards a major breakthrough for Sydney commuters. Leah Harris for 10 News First.
Well, Sydney's Harbour Bridge railway link is finally back in action after its longest shutdown in history. Extensive upgrades took more than 15,000 work hours over 10 days. For a smoother ride, the timber decking has been replaced by hundreds of concrete panels. The government says the improvements will extend the life of the 88-year-old railway by another 120 years. Still to come, as JobKeeper nears an end, the fears for businesses and their workers facing future lockdowns without support. The traffic light system being offered up as a new path for COVID-safe travel. Hunting for answers, a black box signal sparks hope of a breakthrough in the latest Indonesian air crash tragedy. Are fines any deterrent for illegal drug use? New data shows many people simply don't pay them. And make lamb, not walls. This year's Lamb ad takes aim at our border wars.
We're over Carlisle Avenue, Minchinbury right now, and I just spotted my next car.
Keep your eyes open for a bargain at Car City. With over 1,400 vehicles, 16 dealers, flexible finance and cafe, all at Carlisle Avenue, Minchinbury. carcity.com.au.
Good evening. Big delays into Sydney's west at the moment following a multi-vehicle accident in Greystanes on the M4. As you can see, it has been moved to the breakdown lane. All three lanes are starting to get on the move, but there are some really sizey delays going well back into the Granville area and even back down Parramatta Road through Clyde and Granville. So just allow plenty of extra travel time there. The left of screen's the Great Western Highway, so jump on there if you want to save some time this afternoon. I'm Alex Strawn in the Car City Traffic Chopper.
A mother and her 3 young girls killed in a horrific house fire have been remembered today as bright and happy. The only survivor, the siblings' father, remains in hospital under police guard.
Strangers and friends started a shrine, leaving letters, flowers and toys for Kararu Okano and her 3 daughters.
She was a wonderful, devoted, loving mother. The girls were beautiful. That's what's the saddest part about it. I saw them every single day going to school.
Vinyana Parsi danced with the oldest of the siblings, Akko.
We were like sisters. Our connection was very strong.
Today, she laid flowers for her friend.
She always was so bright and always had a smile on her face. I know everyone will love her and miss her forever.
The fire ignited in the garage. Explosions rang out. The children, aged 3, 5 and 8, were trapped upstairs with their mother. The only survivor was her partner, Hiroyuki Kikuchi.
Then he started shouting, my kids, there are kids upstairs. And he ran up with, I think, 2 firemen.
About an hour earlier, the family of 5 were seen eating ice cream together. The father remains in hospital under police guard. Today, his condition improved from critical to serious, but detectives say it'll still be some time before they're able to talk to him.
There was burn marks on his back, and the whole face was black, and he was under shock.
The girl's grandfather, who lives in Japan, says January 10th will be remembered as a sad day. I'd like to go to Melbourne right now, but I'm not sure what will happen due to the influence of coronavirus.
I love them, always in my heart.
The community mourns. Beloved young girls, rest in peace. Christina Costalis for 10 News First.
All travellers heading to Victoria will now be required to have a permit to enter the state under a new system designed to help with contact tracing. There'll be 3 levels of permit based on a traffic light system. People travelling from a red zone will not be allowed to enter Victoria. Others will face different restrictions.
Later in the week, we hope to be able to have more to say about Sydney and Brisbane. I want to thank particularly all of those people who are very patiently waiting until the public health advice allows us to have those people return home.
Permits are available from the Services Victoria website from tonight. Billions of dollars in tax cuts and fewer employers in need of the JobKeeper lifeline. That's the line the federal government was spruiking today on Australia's economic rebound. The acting Prime Minister is also claiming businesses want JobKeeper to end. Well, he's now been slammed as being out of touch.
A material improvement for the Cotton On Group, today taking the Treasurer on a tour of its soon-to-be expanded warehouse.
We're still feeling conservative but optimistic around the next 12 months.
The retail giant had 5,500 employees on JobKeeper last year.
We closed almost 1,300 stores at one point in time. In Australia, we had all of our 650 stores closed at one point in time.
But now, their business and their workers have graduated from JobKeeper. As the economy is picked up.
Most recent figures show 1.5 million Australians are still relying on the $1,000 fortnightly payment, which ends in March.
But it was always meant to be a temporary program. It was always designed to help get businesses to the other side, and it's not the only support measure that we have in place.
Pointing to tax cuts. Data from the Australian Taxation Office revealing almost $7 billion has flowed back to millions of Aussie workers since July. But with lockdowns and border restrictions a common occurrence, the opposition wants support measures extended.
A rhetoric from the government wants to pretend that everybody's fine and everybody's out of the woods.
The acting Prime Minister claims businesses from
Start at A, accountants, and you could work right through to Z, zoos,
have told him they want the wage subsidy to be tapered off, also seeming to mix up JobKeeper and Job Seeker.
Some of those workers who, have been sitting on the couch and being, dare I say, lounge lizards for too long.
The acting Prime Minister is so spectacularly out of touch.
Scott Morrison's on leave this week but says he will stay in touch with the Chief Medical Officer. Chloe Boris for 10 News First.
Coming up next, the chilling final photo posted by a pregnant mother moments before her plane crashed. Suicidal negativism, the Pope's strong stance on the COVID-19 vaccine. And the Champs-Élysées transformed the bold plan to redevelop one of the world's most famous avenues. First, though, let's get a quick look at today's weather. Here is Josh with the latest.
Good evening, Hugh. Well, Monday picked up where the weekend left off. Beautiful blue skies and sunshine stretching across parts of Sydney, all thanks to a large area of high pressure situated in the Tasman Sea. However, some onshore winds have pushed in some light shower activity across parts of the north coast. Byron Bay picking up around about 1 to 2 millimetres into the gauges. The synoptic pattern, well, we've certainly seen some heat across inland parts of New South Wales. Temperatures around the Riverina, 4 to 5 degrees above average today. That is due to some northerly airflow returning through those western and central areas of the state. Looking at those temperatures on screen, Wagga today hit 34 degrees. Canberra hit a top of 33, along with Bega, which is around about 5 degrees above average for this time of year. Orange hit 27. Dubbo 31 and Broken Hill 37 degrees. Sydney today hit a top of 29. That's actually 3 above average for this time of year. 27 the top at Gosford. We hit 25 at Wollongong, 31 at Campbelltown. The same mark in Penrith and 29 degrees at Parramatta. But stay with us. All the week's weather details coming up at 5 to 6.
Welcome back. Indonesian divers have located the black boxes of the Boeing 737 that plunged into the Java Sea on Saturday. They've also recovered more bodies as family members congregate at victim identification centres for any sign of their lost loved ones.
Armed with a sonar device, Navy divers uncovered the debris 23 metres deep. They know where the black boxes are located, but recovering them is no easy task. The Search and Rescue Director telling reporters they'll try anything to retrieve debris or victims. The quicker they can find victims, the better. Overnight, crews recovered the engine other parts of the plane and more bodies, piece after piece, pulled from the Java Sea, placed on the pier and sprayed with sanitiser. And after dawn, more than 50 ships were deployed for the recovery operation. There were 62 people on board the Boeing 737, including 7 children and 3 babies. This pregnant mother posted a picture of her daughter and nephew minutes before takeoff. The captain is a former Air Force pilot with 30 years flying experience. His distraught wife and daughters are among those anxiously waiting for any update. This father is 2, his daughter, a 23-year-old air hostess. Her brother says they're praying everything goes to plan so the plane and people inside can be recovered. Flight tracking data shows the plane was just 4 minutes into its journey when it suddenly plunged into the Java Sea. The cause of the crash, for now, remains a mystery, unlikely to be resolved until those black boxes can be retrieved from the wreckage. Paris Martin for 10 News First.
In the US, the aftermath of the assault on Capitol Hill might still be dominating the headlines, but the COVID crisis is also worsening daily. For a second straight day, the US reported a record number of cases, more than 278,000 new infections and close to 4,000 deaths. In Los Angeles alone, more people are dying of COVID each day than of all other causes of death put together. In Washington, lawmakers have been warned they may have been exposed to COVID during the riots. All of those who were exposed have been tested. They're now waiting for results. 7 immunisation sites are about to open to the public across England in the next stage of a mass vaccination campaign. The country is on course to have all its most vulnerable immunised by the middle of next month and the rest of the population by September or October.
Last couple of months have been ridiculous, not going to lie. It's been a huge amount of work that everybody has just pulled together. And we've done a lot of long hours, but this is exactly the reason why we've done it.
More than 2 million Brits have already either had the first shot or been fully vaccinated. But with infections still over 50,000 a day, it is expected to be many weeks before numbers dramatically fall. In Spain, the army has been called out as heavy snow complicates the delivery of the vaccine. 300,000 doses arrived in Madrid just as Storm Filomena broke over the city, dumping half a metre of snow and stranding thousands of travellers. Police escorts and road clearing crews were swung into action to ensure the vaccine made it through to delivery centres. An ambitious transformation of one of the world's most famous boulevards has been given the green light by the mayor of Paris. The Champs-Élysées is being greened up. Space for cars will be cut in half. Much of the famous avenue and surrounding roads will be closed to traffic, and tunnels of green will be planted for shade and to improve air quality. Sadly, the $400 million project will not be ready by the time Paris hosts the Olympics in 2024. A 3-year demining operation has finally come to an end in the Palestinian territories, allowing services to resume at one of Christianity's most holy sites. Franciscan monks marked the Epiphany for the first time in more than 50 years at a shrine said to be where John the Baptist baptized Jesus. The former war zone in the Jordan Valley was littered with landmines and unexploded ordnance. Stay with us, still to come. The figures are in, the eye-watering amount we spent during the Black Friday sales. And playing on our border issues and political wars, this year's lamb ad spares no prisoners. Tonight's top stories: concern over Sydney's mystery COVID cases. A man who walked into an emergency room is one of 5 infected. His source unknown. Staff and patients at Mount Druitt Hospital are now being tested. Brisbane's snap shutdown is ending in a matter of hours. The 3-day lockdown lifted after no new cases were reported, but masks will be mandatory still in some areas. And weeks after speaking with 10 News at the scene of the crime, this woman has been arrested in relation to the murder of 77-year-old Peter McCarthy. On-the-spot fines for drug possession offer those caught a second chance, but some are questioning whether it is a viable deterrent, with tens of thousands of dollars in penalties still going unpaid. The government insists, though, most are learning their lesson and warns any others they will be catching up fast.
The issue tends to rear its head each festival season, and while those big events aren't on this summer, the consequences of drugs remain a concern. On-the-spot fines or criminal infringement notices for drug possession were introduced in January 2019, and between then and April last year, close to 800 were issued, totalling $318,000, and almost $30,000 of that is outstanding. There is a warning, though, for those who haven't paid.
More than 90% of people are paying their fines, but if you haven't paid your fine, I suggest to you, get in contact with us and make arrangements in relation to it before we come and contact you.
Drug policy experts back the system.
Fines are really important because they do reduce a burden on the person, a burden on the police and a burden on the taxpayer.
Adding the disadvantaged need consideration.
One way that we can reduce the burden on the system is to simply means test who is being caught.
The government insists it is pursuing these unpaid fines. An overdue one already incurs an extra $65 penalty, and from there the government can resort to other measures like suspending a person's driving licence. The government is meanwhile still considering a proposal to give those found with drugs another 2 chances before they're criminally charged.
What's most important here is that we understand that people should be able to seek help when they need it.
Alice Hogg for 10 News First.
A succulent lamb barbecue is a solution to Australia's border wars, according to this year's tongue-in-cheek summer lamb ad. It is set in a divided future, highlighting interstate politics and restrictions.
It's the annual lamb ad that this year highlights the beef between states.
Today marks 10 years since our once united nation was divided by the great state walls.
It imagines current COVID-19 travel restrictions with border walls.
What's on the other side, Mummy?
They're called Queenslanders.
And a single lamb cutlet as the catalyst for unification.
The pivotal message there is that we are all better and stronger when we come together.
It includes digs at Sydney siders,
So Sydney's here.
Western Australians,
WA, you made it.
Yeah. Sorry for trying to become our own country again.
and Tasmanians.
Where are the rest of you?
This is all of us.
But it seems South Aussies weren't part of the grilling.
United States of Australia.
It's just Australia.
I don't think it's the funniest lamb ad I've seen, but the end gag is a cracker.
What have I missed?
Of course, Scott Morrison won't be able to see the ad now because he's on holidays.
In its 17th year, these Australia Day commercials have become somewhat of an institution, with experts comparing it to America's Super Bowl campaigns, where viewers make a point of watching them.
It's interesting that the Australia Day lamb ads don't tend to make a great deal of Australia Day anymore because that's more problematic.
But there's no doubt it's good for business.
Like the day before and Australia Day, it goes crazy. People just jump for chops.
We should celebrate this day every year.
Kimberly Pratt, for 10 News First.
Good on him. Now, watching Sydney's traffic tonight is Alex Strawn up in the chopper. What's catching your eye, Alex?
Yeah, good evening, Hugh. Well, you can definitely tell a lot of people are back to work today. We're currently hovering over the M5 at Hammondville, and this is the outbound journey past the old toll plaza there, heading out toward the Moorebank and Casula area. As you can see, there's a lot more motorists on the motorway this week as opposed to last week. As we go to air tonight as well, we're getting reports through of a multi-vehicle accident at Greystanes on the M4, affecting outbound traffic near Greystanes Road. There was another accident there around 3:30 this afternoon that's been cleared, so it is a very slow run out to the Greater West this evening. From the Car City Traffic Chopper, I'm Alex Strawn.
Well, Matt Burke is here with the day in sport. And Matt, we've been watching India at its most stubborn best.
That's exactly right, Hugh. Good evening. Australia toiled on a flat track, but it was a day of missed chances in the field as India stood firm. While in the BBL, last ball, no worries, as a veteran steers home the Sixers against the Heat. And lucky number 7 as Hawaii provides the perfect backdrop for an overdue win.
We're over Carlisle Avenue, Minchinbury right now, and I just spotted my next car.
Keep your eyes open for a bargain at Car City. With over 1,400 vehicles, 16 dealers, flexible finance and cafe, all at Carlisle Avenue, Minchinbury. carcity.com.au.
Good evening. India looks set to save the third test of the SCG after a heroic batting performance on day 5. Australia missed several chances, dropping 4 catches, while Rishabh Pant's electrifying innings looked like giving the tourists an outside chance.
India needed 309 more runs with 8 wickets in hand. Make that 7.
Oh, there's a little one. Wade takes the catch and Nathan Lyon gets his first wicket of the test match.
Rishabh Pant should have been out on 3 and Tim Payne's dropped chance proved costly.
And again, same shot.
He couldn't keep due to injury, but there was nothing wrong with him today.
And he's got a lot of bat on it again.
Payne grasped another chance with Pant on 56. A century partnership with Cheteshwar Pujara made things very interesting. India daring to dream.
Shot. Comes forwards, gets back.
Soaking up everything thrown at him, it was almost one of the great Test hundreds.
He advances and he goes!
Punt out for a brilliant 97. Will Bukowski was forced off the field with a shoulder injury. Hanuma Vihari left hamstrung after a quick single. Josh Hazlewood then removed the dangerous Pujara.
Hold in! Big wicket for Hazlewood in Australia.
The Aussies thought they'd broken through first ball after tea.
Oh, what a start that is.
A win for Ravi Ashwin on review, and he was riding his luck. Vihari couldn't run, but it was purely about survival. Ashwin turned into a brick wall up the other end in a real backs-to-the-wall performance.
Oh, he's gone for the Yorker. He's jammed it out.
Australia fighting, but running out of overs. Christian Jansen for 10 News First.
Cricket Australia have confirmed the 4th test will go ahead as planned at the Gabba after lengthy conversations with the BCCI and Queensland Government. Crowd numbers will be slashed to half capacity, with masks mandatory for everyone while entering, exiting or moving around the stadium.
A great amount of work, planning, due diligence to go in to make sure that we can move to Brisbane safely. And on the basis of yesterday's discussions, we are full steam ahead.
And Australia and India will head to Brisbane tomorrow. BBL fixtures remain up in the air, with the Heat waiting for an answer on whether they'll be able to travel to Melbourne in the coming days. Overnight on the Gold Coast, it was the Sixers that reclaimed top spot, thanks to some late heroics from Dan Christian.
He's been doing this for over a decade. But stopping Dan Christian isn't an easy task, even if you're his former BBL team, the Brisbane Heat.
Last ball, 1 to win. And he does it. Just too much experience.
Dan Christian's a serious player.
It looked like we were probably going to get it done in 17 or 18 overs, so to get to the last ball probably wasn't quite what we planned.
The Sixers back on top of the BBL ladder. His 61 not out from 38 balls, a masterclass in T20 batting.
Yeah, it's a great sign, isn't it, for us to get over the line the way we have. Given that we don't feel like we're playing our best cricket just yet, we got towed up the other night against the Scorchers.
It leaves Brisbane outside the top 5, and it could have been oh so different.
Catch, it's the call.
It's not our first close one this year, so it hurts a little bit.
That pain was quickly replaced with uncertainty. Border restrictions and Brisbane's lockdown mean the Heat's upcoming 4-match road trip to Melbourne is under review.
We've got to be ready as cricketers to adapt to that and play when asked to play.
Either way, every game from now is crucial. Josh McLean for 10 News First.
On the marathon stage of the Dakar Rally, Toby Price lost the overall lead by the smallest of margins. Price finished the second day second off the pace, but with a severely damaged rear tyre. And with mechanics not allowed to work on the bikes after stage 7, the 2-time champion needs to hope his own running repairs will hold up.
Yeah, not the best result. Hopefully it holds together and
hopefully my Dakar hopes stay in one piece.
And compatriot Daniel Sanders needing stitches after a crash cost him a chunk of his chin. However, both Aussies fared better than Ross Branch. The rider from Botswana left devastated after he ate the dust and saw him plummet out of contention for overall honours. It's taken him more than 7 years, but Harris English is once again a winner on the PGA Tour. Joaquin Niemann finished the Tournament of Champions at 25 under following a bogey-free final round. His efforts made English do something special to force a playoff, and he delivered on the 18th.
Wow. Good shot. What a shot. Look at this. To 25 under, and there will be a playoff.
English winning that playoff with another birdie on the 18th, and reckon, Hugh, he could get a little more excited.
Well, he probably wasn't expecting it. Thanks for that, Matt. Coming up next, Prozac for dogs. Not only is it a thing, but it's also in short supply. The warning from vets as the pandemic hits imports.
Thank you, Hugh. Well, a sunny weekend and Monday did not let us down. 26 right now in the city, but storms are forecast to return. All the details coming up after the break. Good evening. It was a magnificent Monday across parts of Sydney, and you've been lacking in vitamin D due to the recent rainfall and cloud cover. You got a nice booster over the weekend and today. In terms of temperatures across parts of Sydney, we hit 29 this afternoon, 3 above average for this time of year, and a short time ago in the CBD sitting on 26 degrees. Now on the satellite tonight, you will notice most of New South Wales today was cloud free, although we did get a little bit of low cloud hovering around areas of the north coast this afternoon. And as a result, we're at about 1 to 2 millimetres falling across parts of the Tweed and Byron Bay. Moving into the synoptic pattern as we get across tomorrow, a trough of low pressure will start to track across southern areas of New South Wales. Now, that could spark up a few showers and thunderstorms across those areas, in particular across the southern ranges. I am expecting that trough to start to dissipate as we get to Wednesday, but then on Thursday, another trough will sweep across New South Wales, which could increase instability and also increase the rate of thunderstorms across New South Wales by the time we reach Thursday and Friday this week. So that certainly is one weather system we'll be tracking right here on 10 News First. But of course tomorrow we're looking at another fine day for most areas. Just some very light shower activity on part of the north coast. Those showers will favour the morning. I think by the afternoon it should be essentially dry. But here you go. There's that trough moving across New South Wales, potentially causing some shower and thunderstorm activity tomorrow across parts of the ACT, but in particular across areas of the southern ranges. Moving now interstate and Brisbane, partly cloudy and a top of 29 degrees, 22 for Melbourne, a little bit cooler thanks to a cold change sweeping through tonight. Hobart, 21 degrees with a chance of a shower tomorrow. Adelaide, pretty much fine and 30 degrees, 33 in Perth, and showers and thunderstorms on the way for Darwin with a top of 34. As mentioned, chance of a morning shower on the north coast tomorrow, but not expecting too much into the gauges. Tweed Head's going for a top of 27 degrees. Lismore hitting the same mark tomorrow, along with Coffs Harbour. A warm day for Tamworth, up to 33. Broken Hill, 37. And we're expecting those temperatures to be quite warm across the southern inland of New South Wales tomorrow, in particular across parts of the Riverina. Wagga going for 39 degrees. Canberra, 34 with the chance of a shower thanks to the trough. And Bega, a top of 29. Across the Sydney Basin, we're looking at a pretty good day, mostly sunny, and it will extend right from the coast through to the western areas of Sydney. 34 degrees for Richmond, 35 for Penrith, and 32 for Parramatta. 33 the top for Campbelltown tomorrow. Wollongong going for a top of 28 and benefiting from those northeasterly sea breezes. Katoomba starting to warm up tomorrow, hitting 29 degrees for Tuesday. The city will be hitting the same mark tomorrow. Again, that is 3 above average for this time of year after an overnight low of 18 degrees. Over the next few days, okay, let's break it down for you. Mostly sunny on Wednesday, 29 degrees, so that stable weather pattern persisting. On Thursday, a little bit of cloud cover increasing, partly cloudy and a top of 30 degrees. Just the slight chance of a shower on Friday with a top of 26. Overcast skies on Saturday with a top of 24. A possible shower Sunday, but essentially dry and 26, but we could see a shower or two return Monday next week. So a pretty good forecast. However, stay with us here on 10 News First. Very shortly in the bulletin, I'll have more on the storm threat later this week.
More now on tonight's top stories. Mount Druitt Hospital Emergency Department temporarily shut down after a visit by a COVID-positive patient. The race is now on to figure out where he contracted the virus from. A woman in police custody over the murder of a man in his Coogee home. What she told 10 News in the days after Peter McCarthy's body was discovered. At Australia's spending spree, the huge boost to our retail sector as it claws back from COVID. Well, there is concern tonight over two mystery COVID cases in the heart of Sydney's west. One is a man who spent hours at Mount Druitt Hospital's emergency department on Saturday night. It has now been closed for deep cleaning with staff sent into isolation. But health authorities don't know where the patient and his now COVID-positive wife contracted the virus, with no apparent link to the two known Sydney clusters.
It's the COVID case that has Mount Druitt Hospital spinning into reverse, with patients wheeled out of emergency, into ambulances and driven away.
As a precaution, we are ensuring that all staff or patients that may have had inadvertent contact are assessed.
The man in his 40s went to the hospital last night seeking treatment. He sat in the ED waiting until his virus swab came back, and it was positive.
I will have to follow up whether he was fully wearing a mask at all times.
His wife has now tested positive too, but it's unclear where they were infected.
So there's no direct link yet.
And Sydney's Barella cluster has grown again too. Yesterday we learnt of a couple in their 30s who'd been at a household gathering which a confirmed case forgot to mention to contact tracers. Now they've spread it to another family, 2 adults and a child, while mingling at a second household gathering 2 days later.
And we are confident that we've worked through this chain of transmission.
But it today caused the closure of the Wonder Child Daycare Centre at Hurlston Park, with staff, children and some parents there last week asked to test, isolate and await instructions.
They're on lockdown temporarily at the moment. They are following all instructions from the New South Wales Department of Health.
The hunt is still on for this man, caught on camera at Kellyville Ridge McDonald's, going berserk when asked to sign in with a QR code.
Absolutely appalling.
The Health Minister declaring the customer
needs to have the full force of the law thrown at them. I'm confident the police will do that.
As our Premier was today lectured by her counterpart in the West.
To look outside of New South Wales at what other states and territories are doing in order to crush and kill the virus.
There is no way of eliminating this virus so long as it exists around the world.
Especially with leaks from hotel quarantine, where this guard was pictured recently without a mask.
Those protocols have been upgraded overnight.
There will be mask wearing by all security guards.
At what she describes as a critical time in the virus battle. Daniel Sutton for 10 News First.
There has been a breakthrough in the bashing murder of a grandfather who was killed and robbed in his South Coogee unit just before Christmas. This afternoon, police arrested his neighbour, 46-year-old Narelle Smith, and will charge her with his murder. Smith spoke to 10 News First just days after the 77-year-old's body was found. She says she was one of the last people to see the retired solicitor alive. Police say they do have a strong case against her.
When did you last see Peter?
Last Thursday. Yeah, I was for my birthday. Yeah, at his place. I had a bit of a shindig. Dinner, helping me out with my case the next day.
There's very significant forensic and physical evidence to make this a strong and compelling case.
Detectives are also looking for a man and woman who they say may have knowledge about the case. The cricketing world has today condemned racial abuse allegedly hurled at Indian bowler Mohammad Siraj during the SCG test. There are conflicting reports over exactly what was said, but fellow members of the touring team have revealed a long history of discrimination from Australian crowds.
There are differing accounts as to what was said and by whom, but this incident is now serving as a catalyst to change the game.
It's one of my greatest pet hates in life, that people can think they can come to a sporting event, whether it's cricket or any code, and pay their money and think they can abuse or say whatever they like.
I've never seen a more overrated aspect of cricket than sledging. Grow up.
In total, 9 spectators were ejected from the SCG just before tea yesterday after fast bowler Mohammad Siraj alleged he was the target of racial abuse. Police and Cricket Australia are investigating, but it's understood the players are yet to be formally interviewed.
This is my 4th tour to Australia, and
Sydney, especially here, has been, we've had a few experiences even in the past.
Including, they say, during Saturday's play. An official complaint was lodged by the Indian team and reports have emerged that Siraj was then, among other slurs, called a brown dog and told to go home.
I don't believe we have an inherent problem with racism. I don't. I do believe that it rears its ugly head from time to time and we need to always be vigilant.
And fans agree.
It's just plain rudeness. It's just wrong.
We take that very seriously. We do not tolerate any bad behaviour, any abuse to any players or anyone.
Including Ganita Khanna, who says she was the target of abuse from a spectator while watching yesterday's play.
He was in his 60s, I would guess. He says, these trashy Indians, there's only so much you can do. You can't change people, but the realization does need to come from within.
She hopes the game can get back to the game. Ursula Hager for 10 News First.
In the US, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has delivered an ultimatum to Vice President Mike Pence, demanding he remove Donald Trump from office or there will be another impeachment. Days after the riot, the White House today lowered its flag to half staff for the policeman who lost his life defending lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
4 days after the deadly insurrection, the White House flag finally flies at half-staff as police form a guard of honour to remember one of their own, 42-year-old Brian Sicknick, who died defending the Capitol. New disturbing footage has also begun circulating, showing a policeman, possibly Sicknick, being attacked with a flagpole while the crowd chants. In an interview with CBS's 60 Minutes, Speaker Nancy Pelosi is clearly emotional.
What happened was a terrible, terrible violation. This door, they broke down, as you can see.
Oh, my goodness.
They broke that down.
She plans to put forward a resolution calling on the Vice President to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove Trump, but there's already opposition.
My personal view is that the President touched the hot stove on Wednesday and is unlikely to touch it again.
Tomorrow, Democrats will begin impeachment proceedings against President Trump for the second time. Republicans are warning it'll only fuel divisions, but the Democrats' response is there can't be unity without accountability.
Former Republican Governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, compared the attack to the rise of Nazi Germany.
My father and our neighbors were misled also with lies, and I know where such lies lead. President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever.
Meanwhile, President Trump will visit the border wall later this week to highlight one of his achievements before he leaves office. Eamon Ashton-Atkinson for 10 News First, Washington.
Indonesian divers have located the black boxes of the Boeing 737 that plunged into the Java Sea on Saturday. They haven't yet been able to bring them to the surface, but they have retrieved wreckage and more bodies. The cause of the crash is still under investigation. There were 62 people on board. Coming up next, you have an anxious pup. This might make you anxious too. The warning as the supply of pet Prozac runs low. In a year of almost unending grim economic news, November was a bumper month of retail trade, producing the strongest year-on-year sales results in almost 20 years.
Hello there, I'm Gillian Bowen with your Finance News. Can you remember back to November and the Black Friday sales? Well, consumers snapping up bargains during the shopping event have helped boost official retail sales figures. Turnover jumped 7.1% in November. That follows a small rise in October. Sales are also up 13% on a year ago. Online purchases played a significant role. The Bureau of Statistics says the rise is led by Victoria, with Melbourne retailers able to trade for a full month. But look at South Australia. Its brief lockdown contributed to this result. So what were people spending their money on? Clothing, footwear and personal accessories up almost 27% on the previous month. turnover was around $2.6 billion. Household goods also surged, including electronics, which the Bureau of Statistics says were driven by the release of new game consoles and iPhones. The spend there, close to $6 billion. We'll find out how much we spent at Christmas a little later this month. To the ASX 200, it started the week down. Most sectors saw red. Our local gold miners among the worst decliners as the price of gold plunged. But on the flip side, the rising price of oil has pushed up energy stocks. To the dollar, this is how it's performing against the other major currencies. It's buying around 77 US cents. And that's finance.
Well, state border closures have copped a grilling in this year's annual Aussie lamb ad. Set 10 years in the future, the ad reimagines domestic travel restrictions, with lamb chops becoming the inspiration to bring Australians together again. It features some cheeky digs at state stereotypes and even a swipe at the Prime Minister.
What have I missed?
Meat and Livestock Australia says it hopes to reinforce the message that we are always stronger together. Ain't that the truth? Now, for many of us, our pets have helped us get through the past year, but there are concerns for their welfare after our leading drug authority warned of a coming shortage of Prozac, which could see depressed dogs and cats miss out.
The past year well and truly went to the dogs, and not even they're happy about it. Some suffered depression and anxiety, and now there's word puppy Prozac may be in short supply.
This is your moment to shine. Sit.
Not that 6-month-old Max has anything to worry about.
I think the real answer is probably Prozac for humans, not dogs.
The Therapeutic Drugs Administration has warned the antidepressant may be scarce in coming months because of increasing demand. But leading vets stress there's no need to stress.
I think the first thing to do is examine the dog.
They'll first check for pain, then situational changes including storms, which can be treated without medication. And then there's us.
We're at home and the behaviour that they were normally doing now is annoying you because you're trying to work behind the computer.
There are collars that release pheromones to help pets relax. Just like us, dogs go through hormonal shifts in life. Kelly is an older lady, and while she won't be going through menopause, she certainly will be dealing with some mood swings. Dealing with teenagers is always a roller coaster.
It's also about managing people's expectations, and what they perceive as an anxiety or an abnormal behaviour might just be isn't trained properly.
Ellie May was happy to show how it's done.
Anyway, sit.
And with that lesson, Max was a star pupil.
Sit.
Ali Donaldson for 10 News First.
Well, there's plenty of anxiety at the SCG today. Time for more sport with Matt Burke. And Matt, India pulled off the near impossible.
Quite incredible, Hugh. Good evening. The tourists have done a remarkable day of cricket to draw the third test at the SCG. Australia taking just 3 wickets on a frustrating day where several chances were put down. Rishabh Pant put the visitors on track for victory, but the target was just out of reach.
8 wickets on day 5. That was the equation for an Aussie victory.
Good! Yeah! Oh, there's a little one. Wade takes the catch and Nathan Lyon gets his first wicket of the test match.
Ajinkya Rahane gone in just the second over. You got the feeling this could be over quickly.
Pant advances, blazes away over the offside, clears the lot.
Or maybe not. Rishabh Pant moved up the order, and what a masterstroke it was. Brutal, aggressive, more like the Big Bash than day 5 of a test.
He's got a lot of bat on it again. 2 in a row from Pant.
He got a bit of luck and never looked back. Holding on for a draw, not the mindset. He was chasing that miracle victory.
More runs for Rishabh Pant. He races to 97.
An extraordinary innings, not quite a fairy tale.
He advances and he goes! Rishabh Pant denied one of the great centuries.
The mood dropped when Will Pucovski went down, sent for scans on his shoulder, but the Aussies powered on. Pujara gone for 77.
Bowled in! Big wicket for Hazelwood.
India were brave to say the least. Hamstring injuries, nasty blows.
Inside edge onto the ribs there, I reckon. Ouch.
And somehow Bahari and Ashwin survived an Aussie onslaught for hours.
That's it! Edge down! Payne grasps it and it punches out of his hand. again.
India holding on for a famous draw. The Border Gavaskar Trophy still up for grabs. Next and final stop, the Gabba. Emma Lawrence for 10 News First.
The Sixers are back on top of the BBL thanks to a match-winning knock by Dan Christian. The veteran blasted 61 from just 38 balls to keep the Heat outside the top 5.
Last ball, one to win. And he does it. Just too much experience.
It looked like we were probably going to get it done in 17 or 18 overs. So to get to the last ball probably wasn't quite what we planned.
And to make matters tougher for Brisbane, they're now facing an uncertain schedule due to border and quarantine restrictions. Leeds United have been dumped from the FA Cup in a loss to Crawley Town, a team 3 tiers below them and with a reality TV star on the books.
I get a bit emotional now. Yeah, it's been a tough road. That means a lot.
And there was nothing between the backyards and the benches as Marine hosted Tottenham. The homes bordering the pitch were the only ones who could attend the biggest mismatch in FA Cup history. Spurs smashing 5 past aside, 8 tiers and 161 places beneath them. After trash talking Cleveland all week, Pittsburgh was hit with the karma bus on the first play of their wildcard game today.
And they start with a horrible snap all the way back to the 2-yard line, and the Browns bounce it into the end zone where they wind up with a touchdown.
And the Browns blitzed the Steelers. Baltimore beat Tennessee and rubbed it in by dancing on their logo. And New Orleans knocked out Chicago, prompting coach Sean Payton to celebrate in the slime. Steph Curry's entree was hot, wowing us in the warm-up, but we won't show you what he served up during the main course. The Warriors guard with a career-worst shooting performance in his team's win over the Raptors. Frustrations also boiled over in the Lakers-Rockets clash.
Oh, look out! Markieff going after Boogie. Whoa, something really incited Markieff Morris.
And Morris ejected, and it didn't take long for DeMarcus Cousins to join him after a crude foul on the King. The Lakers show continues to roll on with an 8-point win. Darryl Morsell had a career-high 19 points as Maryland upset Illinois, and Mum just couldn't wait to give her assessment of the game, jumping in on the Guards' post-match media conference.
Yes, Mom. What's the question?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. You can call me after this. What's the question? I'm trying to go home.
I just wanted to say you guys played an awesome game, and you just listen to me and wear the mask, okay?
I listen to you.
And with Mum giving Morsell the trouble then the defence, we're surprised he didn't reach for the mute button, but for instead answering all the hard questions, the college baller scores our player of the day, and parents, you can't trust them.
You can never mute him either. Thanks, Matt. Coming up next, Josh Holt is here with the weather, looking ahead for the next week.
Will these beautiful sunny skies continue for Sydney? That's the question everyone's asking, and we'll get to that extended forecast in just a few moments. Firstly, on the synoptic chart tomorrow, the main weather system we're watching is a trough of low pressure moving across southern areas of New South Wales. Now, look, it is relatively weak. We're not expecting it to have a huge impact on the state tomorrow, but as it travels in that easterly direction, it will increase the risk of showers and thunderstorms across the southern inland and in particular across the southern ranges tomorrow. For the eastern part of the state, generally fine conditions, all thanks to that area of high pressure, although we do have the slight chance of a morning shower up around areas of the north coast, but a sunny afternoon will follow. And there you go on the predicted rain chart. You can see those showers and possible thunderstorms extending across the southern ranges and even affecting parts of the ACT as we get through tomorrow afternoon. Tweed Heads tomorrow, top of 27 degrees, along with Lismore and Coffs Harbour. A little bit warmer further west for Broken Hill. Dubbo hitting 36, 39, the top for Wagga. In fact, we're expecting temperatures around about 5-6 degrees above average across parts of the Riverina tomorrow. Canberra going for a top of 34 degrees with the chance of that shower, and Bega a top of 29. Across Sydney, it will be mostly sunny, extending across the coast and through the western suburbs. Mostly sunny for Penrith tomorrow. Richmond hitting 34, 32 for Parramatta and 33 for Bankstown. Campbelltown hitting the same mark. Wollongong seeing those sea breezes kick up through the afternoon, hitting 28, and Gosford much the same with a top of 29. And hitting that mark in Sydney tomorrow, 3 above average for this time of year. Mostly sunny skies again on Wednesday, partly cloudy on Thursday with a top of 30 degrees and a possible shower on Friday with a top of 26. At this stage, Saturday, looking a little bit overcast. Now, for Sydney's western suburbs, this is interesting. Mostly sunny Tuesday and Wednesday as mentioned, but then that second trough of low pressure that is set to move across New South Wales will increase instability, and we could see a shower or thunderstorm Thursday and Friday, and Hugh will be certainly keeping everyone up to date on that.
I expect you will. Thank you very much, Josh. That is 10 News First for this Monday, the 11th of January. Stay with us. The Project Gang is coming up next. But from all of us here at the 10 News team, thanks for joining us. Good night.